All right, well, here we are. Number 46, chapter 46, World's Longest Suicide Note. I'm Roger. I am your local suicidal person. Um, but I'm not any kind of professional mind bender or I don't do psychology stuff. So, not a professional in that at all. You get what you get. So, that being said, let's chat. One of the things that I do on occasion is to do some peer support. And of course, I'm mixing up paint and I got it all over the place. Because that's how I roll. All right, let's get my act together. You like how I brought you into that, so now it's your responsibility to help me get my act together. All right, wipe this up. It's fine because I can go over it. No lasting damage done. Okay. So, like what I was saying is I do peer support sometimes during my days. I'm able to schedule time to meet with some folks to talk about their own journey with avoiding suicide and dealing with severe mental health. So, and in that, sometimes I'm called to chat with people who are battling their own situation, and I don't, again, because I'm not a professional in this, they bring me in as a peer support person, and who's they? Basically, people who know that I'm dealing with this, and that they have people who are dealing with this. And since it's hard to get into an actual professional, you have to wait, and they still may be dealing with things, and they need to talk. That's where I come in a lot of times. And they know, and I make no bones about it. I am not the person to get the information from. But if you want to talk, if you just want to tell me what your experience is, because I do understand. That's really where that comes in. I'm there to give them a chance, and sometimes it's good to practice what you're going to say to a professional when you get that chance, and so talking to somebody to kind of get the idea. Okay, this is what it's like. This is what it's going to be. These are kind of the questions they're going to ask you, and so they can start thinking about those genuine, appropriate responses. But so I do some of that. Not any, like I say, I don't. Nobody pays me for it. I do it because I believe in it, and I have a perspective that's sometimes valuable to people who are going through the same thing. So that's what I talk about. But really, I did 2 of these such meetings yesterday, peer support meetings. And what I'll tell you is one of the things that I talk to people about at a great, at a great, what's the word I was looking for that I lost? At great frequency. One of the things that I've noticed, frequency is, I guess, the word I was looking for, is the fact that a lot of times what I see is people mired in their situation. Of course, I mean they're dealing with some hard things. So yeah, but also one thing that I've noticed and it was very obvious yesterday, is that the lack of purpose. So one of the things that I feel very strongly about is that people have to find a purpose. A purpose makes mental illness more bearable. I can't even begin to tell you where I would be without that. I don't know. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be talking to you, and I feel very certain about that. I feel very certain that is a valid statement. So, and it's not. I mean, there's no requirement ever. It's not one of the things that we're ever required is to have a purpose. Nobody's saying, what's your purpose? I mean, somebody, what's your purpose here? I mean, that's kind of a different thing. But there's no, you don't get a tax break for having a purpose. Nobody's going to, you don't put it on your card. I mean, some people, if you live your purpose, you're posting about it, you're doing that kind of thing. But it's not patently obvious for a lot of people if they have a purpose or not. But I could tell pretty quick in talking with somebody that they don't. I could usually tell if they're kind of living a purpose or if they're just trying to get to the next day. And so I always encourage people, because I think it's this important that you develop a purpose. Now, I understand, and when somebody's in crisis, a purpose would be maybe even counter to what they're going through. So I always even though I know that a purpose isn't something that at the moment they're concerned about, but it definitely helps the recovery process, and it helps just in general to have a purpose. So, but that's, I mean, honestly, I don't think anyone would argue that having a purpose is a good thing, unless it's like an evil purpose. But you just can't get a purpose either. And when you're struggling, and if you don't have a purpose and you're struggling, I always say, well, that's something that that's a bridge we need to cross over when we're not in crisis. And while I would say that neither of these two individuals that I did meet with were in crisis, so to speak, they weren't heading to the emergency room for what they were going through. They were pretty much in it, and when you're in it, you're in it. So, putting that on somebody at that time would be counterproductive, for sure. So, I want to make that clear. Yes, having a purpose helps, absolutely, on a day-to-day basis. But you just don't get a purpose. And sometimes worrying too much about it, that's just another thing you got to do. Now I got to have a purpose. Deaver says I have to have a purpose. And it's not required, but it certainly helps. And so how does a person get a purpose? Well, first, you have to be stable. And I always say, I'll tell you what I tell people. It's like, and it's going to be different for every single person. Understand there's no YouTube. I mean, there may be a YouTube video on how to get a purpose. There's a YouTube channel for everything else. So why not? Anyway, but that being said, the first thing in my perspective is that first and foremost, you have to be at a place where you can accept a purpose, where you can, where it's a possibility for you to actually take on, and you're at a place where it would be beneficial to do so. And you know where you're at better than I do, as far as that goes. But I know that the critical part of that is taking something on when you have the ability to carry that weight, because oftentimes that purpose comes loaded, and you may not be aware of the extra load that it will put on you, and so you have to be willing and able to take that on to at least a degree. That's why I always say it's not for those times when you're in crisis or close to being. I mean, if you feel like you're reaching your capacity, well then you've reached your capacity, and there's not trying to push things, trying to add more to your plate when you can't take more will just be counter to, it'll be a bad thing versus a good thing. And it's amazing sometimes how they'll cut both ways, for good and for bad. So that being said, first things first, you got to be able to take on something that you believe in. So you have to be doing your self-care. You have to be practicing resilience. You have to be, actually taking care of yourself and your needs, your health, your physical health, your mental health. You have to be in a good place in order even to move forward with that. But once you're in that place, then you're in a place, you're ready to take on a purpose, a challenge, whatever it is. Once you're there, but you're open to it, but you don't have one, then I always just say, look, you're going to put it out to the universe, or whoever will listen, whoever's in the neighborhood. Hey, I want to take this on. I want to be a part of this solution. I want, this is an area I find fascinating, and I want to be a part of what's going on. And let me tell you, there's a million purposes you could have. So you put it out there. You put it out to the universe. I'm ready for a purpose. I don't know. And then you go about your life. You give that up. Because what's going to happen is you're not, I mean, you may, but every time that I've been in that position, and I say, okay, that sounds great. I need a purpose. I'm gonna put it out there. I always get a purpose. It's always that it always comes, but it's never when you ask it, or as easy as just asking the universe. It's never that easy. You put it out there, and then you go about your day. You do the things that you always do. Take care of yourself, And what'll happen at some point after that is you'll be taking a walk, or you'll be taking a shower, or you'll be doing something, and it'll just slap you in the face. It'll be like one of those, and sometimes it'll be aggressive. Sometimes it'll just be a little, hey, have you thought about this? Sometimes it'll be like one of those, those slap contests where you try to make the other person like not alive anymore because you slap them so hard, and then like dust is flying off, and their face goes, and the ripple, slow motion, one of those. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's going to be that obvious. This is what I need to do. So once you get a reply, and again, for some people, you're like, so wait a minute, I'm supposed to like put it out to the universe and just wait, and that's it. That's if you don't have anything like obvious. Some people it's an obvious thing. They feel like this is the area I want to give back. This is my community, and I want to work within that community, or whatever it is. But once you get that answer and it slaps you on the face or taps you on the shoulder, then go down that road. Find a purpose within that, because obviously there's something there that is calling for you. And believe me, there is needs aplenty. There is no, in this day and age, there is no shortage whatsoever of purposes or lack of need. So you'll find something for sure. And then that, again, keep it positive. Keep because this is going to be a good thing. Don't put pressure on yourself, and don't dive in the deep end. Walk in. Pretend it's cold water. And at some point you got to get your junk in there, and you're never just going to dive in. You're going to like slowly lower yourself in. Because that way we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes the thing that we don't know is how we are going to react mentally, emotionally to a new stimulus. So take it easy, because how it should feel, you should feel good. You should feel like you're doing something. It should feel like this is something that is going to be a positive thing in your life. Because that's what we want it to be. We want it to be something that makes you proud to be doing, something that provides comfort and a purpose. And for those that have never had or it's been a while, it could be life changing. So be open to it, but always guard your energy. Because sometimes when you say you want to help, there's people who want you to help them and they even may pressure you for that. So, and you don't want to get into a situation where now you have to deal that causes stress. So nice and easy, and then go through and take it where it'll take you. I mean, one purpose may lead to another purpose. You never know. But when it comes down to where that rubber and the road is, that little spot, rubber road, if everyone did that, if everyone tried to find a purpose, a place to be themselves, a place to help and be helped, we would live in a far nicer place. So I encourage you. Plus, it makes your life worth more in your eyes, and that's priceless. When you do something and you can see and you get some pride from that, that's priceless. So anyway, I think that's about it. Purpose is important, and I'm sure that we'll talk more about it down the road. So hope you're having a great day, and that you have a purpose, and that you're fighting hard. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.